Hi, my name is Bruno Sade from brunosade.com, and today I want to talk about a very important concept in EFT called shifting aspects. Now, before I explain what that is, let's backtrack for a moment and talk about a very basic explanation of what EFT is in the first place. Basically, EFT is when we tap on certain acupoints or certain points in our face and torso that are used in acupuncture while we are focusing on something that makes us feel a certain way. What tends to happen when we do this is that the way we feel tends to shift in some way, or even the way we think about what we are focusing on. So basically, shifting aspects is how these components of that which we are focusing on tend to shift after we tap on that. So if we think about EFT as having this structure of when I think about fill in the blanks, I feel fill in the blanks. I deeply and completely accept myself. That would be the typical setup statement that we use when we start tapping on the side of the hand in order to make the tapping a bit more targeted, more focused, and therefore more effective, as opposed to being so global and general that we are kind of all over the place and not really knowing what we are working on. Tapping on specific events, such as memories from our past, or even future anticipated events, can be very useful when doing EFT. So if we think about shifting aspects, usually what tends to happen after one or more rounds of tapping is that when we think about the specific event we are tapping on, such as a recent memory, for example, we might notice that the part or the aspect of the event we are focusing on has changed. For example, let's say I was tapping on the recent memory of an argument I had with my girlfriend where because I was running 20 minutes late, she became very angry and she spoke to me harshly. And when I think about that now, it makes me feel angry at her. And so when I do a round of tapping on that, for example, even though when I remember this recent argument with my girlfriend, just because I was only 20 minutes late, she spoke harshly at me, that makes me feel angry at her. And I feel this anger in my throat area, for example, I deeply and completely accept myself. Now, what might happen after one or more rounds tapping with that setup statement is that as I think about this event again, when I pause the tapping and I reassess, I might notice that maybe the emotion that comes up for me now when I think about that is no longer anger, but maybe it's something else. Maybe it's sadness, for example, that I feel like I'm being misunderstood by her. Or maybe the emotion I'm feeling is no longer in my throat. Maybe it's somewhere else. Maybe it's in my chest. Or maybe there's another memory that's coming up and my mind has now kind of shifted to that other memory. Or perhaps my mind is staying within the same memory of this recent argument with my girlfriend. But now, if I were to ask myself, what about this event? What about this memory makes me feel whatever emotion I'm feeling right now when thinking about it? Chances are that part that makes me feel that way will probably shift after one or more rounds of tapping. The reason for that is that, let's say I was initially tapping on that anger, thinking about her speaking to me harshly just because I was only 20 minutes late. Let's say that had a certain emotional intensity. And usually with the tapping, that tends to decrease. And it tends to decrease enough that now there's another aspect within that same event that is kind of now coming to the forefront. That's kind of saying, hey, pay attention to me now. And so maybe it's that sadness that I feel like she doesn't understand the explanation or the reason I gave for why I was 20 minutes late. Or maybe it's something else. So basically, paying attention to shifting aspects is very important, not only because it helps us be more targeted and focused with our tapping. So we are not just staying at the level of, even though when I think about this recent argument with my girlfriend, I feel angry, but we are zooming in a bit more like, what about this memory makes me feel angry? Well, it's that I was only 20 minutes late, is that aspect. And then after one or two rounds, then maybe now it's another aspect that I can tap on. And acknowledging this or noticing this and update my setup statements as a result of these shifting aspects is important, not only to increase the effectiveness of the tapping we are doing, but also to feel more motivated that we are making progress. Because otherwise it would seem like, oh, well, I still feel some emotional intensity, which means this isn't working at all. But in reality, yes, there might be some emotional intensity yet, but it's about something else, like perhaps a slightly different flavor of the same theme or issue or memory. So that's why I think shifting aspects is a very important concept to know, to learn. Whether you are an EFT practitioner or even as a client, I think it's very useful to know this concept. So that's it for today. I hope this was useful. And if you have signed up for the free 23-day tapping challenge, I look forward to seeing you in my upcoming live tapping circle next Thursday, January the 12th at 12 p.m. New York time. And that's it. I hope to see you there.